Hi, it's Andrew Knopp here with,
Salve
and we want to do a little video and tell you a little bit about some of the fun things that we've learned and appreciated and why we're doing the project the way we are. And we thought we'd start off by talking about page 1 and 2.
Yes, we'd like to start with the opening pages of our graphic novel, Pillar of Light. And of course, these pages are also available.
Yeah, at ldscomicbooks.com. You can also see them on our Facebook page. The Making of Pillar of Light has them as well.
So we would invite you to, go check them out, and we're going to tell you some of the tricks and even some of the Easter eggs that we have hidden in these pages. So Andrew, why did you decide to start with this scene?
Yeah, in movies, I've noticed this technique of starting sort of at the end of the story and then flashing back, and it kind of captures the reader or the viewer's interest because what happened here? Tell me the story. How did we get to this point? And to me, having Joseph Smith waking up, coming out of the exhaustion that he would have experienced after having this vision, and then telling you, it took me a while to get enough strength to go home, but I felt all this joy and all this happiness that lasted for days. It makes the viewer go, what happened? Why is he feeling this way? And I have these great beams of light that Sal illustrated here, and then these are fireflies, these dots of light. And later in the book, you learn kind of why the fireflies are a symbol of enlightenment.
And for me, the challenge at this point was to convey the sense of Joseph waking up. So I couldn't do that just, in one panel. It has to be like progressive. In this way, I create the pace of reading. And so I show that gradually, from the position, the initial position to him, with his face turned up to the sky, which then matches the following panel. And I have to show this as the establishing shot, which tells us where the action is taking, where the scene is taking place, in order for the reader to know where we're at. But at the same time, I had to show the feelings and the expressions in Joseph's face, especially when he talks about the sense of peace that he had in that moment of awakening, or becoming again conscious after this incredible experience. So the sense of place and the sense of feelings are very important, and we're starting with these two powerful messages that we are conveying. And another thing that I needed to establish is the fact that he's inside an open space, a clearing in what we now call the sacred grove. That clearing was not a natural clearing, but was a place that actually they had, the Smiths family, they had done, they worked on before. Not very many people know that the Sacred Grove was indeed part of the Smiths family farm. And in that place, they had what, Andrew?
Maple trees. So part of their income and also their food was to produce maple sugar from the maple trees. And part of maple sugaring they have to do is they tap the trees, and then you have to collect the maple syrup from the tree that you then boil. Maple sap, I guess, is probably what it is at that point. And then you have to keep these fires burning for like 24 hours to refine the maple and get the syrup or the sugar off of it. And if you don't, it goes sour. It only has a very limited lifespan. So the way they heated these things was with wood. So it's very possible that Joseph was clearing this wood and cutting down wood for fuel for their maple syrup that was going on in that same period in early spring. Now we don't know 100%, but there's a lot of indications that was what they were making fuel for, to keep the fires burning for the maple syrup.
But one indication we have for sure, which is from one of the accounts, is that the previous day they had been working in that area, and Joseph decided to go intentionally to that area because he remembered that was the place where his father, he was working with his father, and where he left his axe on a stump. So that's why, this long, talk, just to tell you, that's the reason why I have the clearing and I have the axe on the stump. Now this will come back again in later on in the narration. You'll see, this kind of setting again. But I needed to have that as the introduction, even though, those elements are not understood yet. They needed to be there. And then we have Joseph getting up
a little higher. There we go.
Getting up from laying down and walking home. And as he walks home, and we go to page 2, he kind of looks back.
Yeah, let's go this way so you can see your mouth. There you go.
There you go. He looks back at the scene where he had just been, and some of the sun rays. This is not, had nothing to do with the pillar of light of the first vision, but it's just the light of the sun. It was a beautiful morning. Are still coming through the trees, and he looks back and he thinks, that this story, if, I don't blame anyone for not believing this story, because I wouldn't have believed it myself. Things about that, comments about that, and so I needed to convey that idea with the image of him pondering, looking back and like, what did just happen to me?
And we went through several different drafts of his pose, where Sal was trying to experiment with the idea of he's exhausted, right? He's established that previously, that he's really worn out. And for a strong boy like him, that's saying a lot, working long hours to be completely worn out like that. So we had different levels of exhaustion, and we finally settled on this, where he's leaning on this one tree.
Yeah, he still has to hold on a tree in order to be standing. There's snow on the ground, okay? This is spring, but there's snow on the ground. And this is one of those elements that you don't see in other productions that have been done.
Yeah, so we have the weather reports for Palmyra in the area. They found there was a man nearby that was keeping track of all the weather 3 times a day, the temperatures and the snowfall. And during that spring, you had snow and then warming, and snow and warming, and this pattern of snowfall. Even into March and April, they were still having snow. And those of you who are around thick groves know that the trees shade the area, so even though you have warming and sun, you still have areas where the snow doesn't melt because it's in shade. And so it ends up on the north sides of the trees. We don't know 100%. We know that during the early part of March, there was 23 inches of snow, which is a lot of snow. But it also becomes this beautiful symbol of apostasy and the cold days of apostasy, and that God's church was not on the earth. And so it becomes a symbol, although it was probably literally true also, of the thaw happening.
That's why I had this new growth coming out of the snow, and there's new growth everywhere, but this is right smack in front of it. Please notice me. I'm right here.
But Sal does a great job too of making it secondary to Joseph, because it's not the first thing you see. You don't see the new growth as the first compositional element. It's still him, but it becomes a second element, and it has a lead lines, as we call it. Directional lines back to Joseph. So he's playing both. He's letting Joseph be the focus while also having this great symbol here of the new growth.
Now we should tell all the tricks, but not all of them. Some of the tricks, but not all of them.
All right, we'll let the secrets out.
And then we also include the nature being awakened. So we have a little
Chipmunk,
squirrel,
yeah.
a chipmunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the chipmunk. With typical of that area, and we have the birds, in the sky. So this is the opening scene of our book.
And there's the little maple collection taps. The little tin, they would have had tin cans, not cans, but they're kind of half circle cans that were
They're
nailed to
taps.
the tree. Yeah.
No,
They catch the sap as it comes out of the
Yeah.
tap. So little Easter eggs there. But we wanted to share that with you and hope you enjoy it.
All right. We'll see you for next chapter.